And then of course the evening kind of progresses, and we're all sitting around the table. You know, it's the venue after the thing. We got Skiz, we got Kuhei, we got our boys Sensational, and Pete and Ascotari's across the table, and all the people I know from, you know, all the characters from Worm and the Player Club, and it's just like, that was the best bit. But of course I can't just be rolling. I've rolled a few joints for him now, and like it's you can't like roll joint. You know, it's like, imagine you're a reggae fan and somebody says, "Okay, Bob Marley, says, yeah, roll me a spliff," and like, you're not going to not partake, are you? Even though I know it's a bad idea. So I'm really kind of like getting a bit slitty-eyed and edgy and stuff. But luckily the copious amounts of beer are kind of taking the edge off him. But he comes down, sits down next to me, and I'm like, okay. So I say something like, I've already tried to talk to him twice, I think. I've said something like, I said maybe that's why he got asked me to get the camera out, because I mentioned that I'd filmed the gig, and I said, look, I brought my camera because I looked for footage of you on YouTube, and there's nothing there, you know. And it seemed a bit strange. I thought everything was on YouTube, you know, and he just sort of shrugged, you know, looked a bit ambiguous. And I also said something about how I kind of missed his beats in the live context, and I said something about NPCs, and he just shrugged and like that. And there were several other instances where people kind of initiated conversations, and he did not kind of take. It wasn't, you know, he wasn't giving you any kind of evils or kind of like, I don't need to talk to you white people kind of thing, or you know, I'm so fucking bad. None of that. Just like, just a kind of a shyness, an inability, and just overwhelming kind of aura of being phenomenally stoned. And so he sits down next to me, and I try and say something like, "So man, how's it going?" And for the rest of the evening, he occasionally tries to sort of like engage, but all he can say is, what up, what's up, and which is something that becomes increasingly hard to answer, because less and less is up, you know, as far as I'm concerned. And the other thing he says is, by way of kind of an excuse, I suppose, I'm so high, and he kind of smiles at you like, you know. And so you get this weird. There's one point where I'm by this point I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe his tolerance is high, is bigger than mine, or better than mine, but like I was kind of getting like to the state where I couldn't communicate, and we were trying to communicate with one another. And I was just like, and he was like, and that was like, yeah. It's the things you could tell your grandchildren, isn't it? You know. So yeah, there's this ludicrous situation where, you know, you sat next to your hero all night, and you're kind of like ignoring them because like you need to keep talking to people who can actually like articulate a sentence and so on. We talked to Skiz for a while, as I say, very nice guy. Gives us a CD, a little Spectre CD for us for coming all the way, and he teaches us the word sound hand sign. Oh yeah, and Kuhei. There's this bit, right, where I'm stoned and I mentioned or somebody mentions the Ortekra remixes, which is on the Kuhei Meets Sensational album. Now, I've heard that Sensational is Ortekra's favourite hip-hop artist, which, as I think I said before, it kind of makes sense in a weird kind of way. So first of all I make the mistake. They say, have you heard it? Have you got it? I say, well, I downloaded it. And you can just hear this kind of like, but you know, fuck it. I mean, I didn't say it at the time, but I should have said, well, you know, I fucking paid shed loads of money to try and find the last vinyl copies of the Sensational albums from German hip-hop stores and stuff. But I don't. And then we get onto this Ortekra thing, and I start saying something about like how weird it seems to me that Ortekra have done a Sensational remix. And what I'm trying to say is something like, it's like really different, like artists who are kind of at the peak, this is what I should have said, the peak of their entirely separate careers, blah, 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 forms, blah blah, have come together to kind of work, you know, however literally with one another. But instead, what I say is something like, oh man, this is like what, Ortekra, Sensational, you know, like this. And Kuhei cuts me off and goes, they're my friends, like this. And I'm like, whoa, and I try and like start explaining what I'm trying to say and end up just like digging big hole. And he just like walks off. And I'm like, oh wow, fucked up. But then later on, he comes back down and sits like opposite me and seems to be making a real effort to kind of engage with me. And I sense this, and I make a real effort to kind of like engage with him in a kind of non-confrontational, kind of socially collaborative kind of thing. And it seems to work. So it was a very weird little moment. I guess I could try and buy the CD or something, but yeah. What else? Was that it? I've got a feeling that's it. Yeah. Anyway, yes. If I've spent however many years of my life pursuing pointless artistic goals, if that's what I was doing, for meager rewards, one of my treasured memories will be getting high with Sensational. Yeah. I would go on about some others, but that would seem like something, wouldn't it? Yeah.